Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday, my friends. I am just getting all my screens pulled up so we can have a great conversation today. Thank you so much for joining with me today. If you're going to watch live, welcome. Happy Monday. It's 9 a.m. Wake up, grab your coffee. We're going to learn a little bit today. And we're also going to take some actionable steps to moving our businesses forward in our marketing. And today I want to talk through the trust stack that is your business and how quickly and important it is that the people who learn about you and the products and services that you have to offer build trust with you. And they do it in a very specific way. So we're going to talk about that and use that to sell without selling. And this will help a lot of you introverted folks. It'll also help extroverted folks, but more importantly, it'll allow us to get very clear behind getting in front of the right people and making sure that they say, yep, that's who I need to work with. And we want them working with you. So the trust stack, how to sell without selling, meaning how to get the right people to look at you, look at what you do and go, yes, that's what I need. This is who I want to work with without posting like begging attention statements. And we know that there's some specific buying behaviors or motivators behind our buying behaviors. And one thing that we've learned in the last couple of years is that there's been a little bit of a shift in people's decision making, how they make decisions around buying. And we're going to talk about that. So, something to know is people don't buy when they're convinced. It might seem like they do, but they don't. What they're actually doing is they're buying when they feel safe, when they feel safe that you can help them, when they feel safe that you understand them, and when they feel safe that it's going to work for them. That's when they make purchasing decisions. And so today we're building trust in three layers. We're going to look at this from the perspective of authority, meaning she knows what she's doing. Then there's affinity, which is she gets me, right? I have an affinity for that person, that brand that resonates with me. And then evidence is the it works conversation. So most people one layer on repeat and wonder why nothing converts. So we're going to try to fix that and see if we can get a couple more layers in there to help improve that experience. So let's talk about the framework first and foremost. Think of it, think of it like a three-leg stool. Okay, so if one leg is missing, the whole thing is going to topple. If one leg is uneven, it'll wobble, right? So if you post authority, which is like tips and strategy, people may respect you, but not necessarily feel connection. So you might be able to post authority and get them to be like, oh, we know this was going to work. Like you ever see those commercials, like those infomercials where there's like water spewing out of something and they put some paste over it or something, it just stops it, right? That's authority building. You don't even need words. It just show and tell. And so authority building is really important, but it does not guarantee that connection. So we want to make sure we have that connection. Now, if you only post affinity, go in the wrong direction, wobbly stool energy here. Affinity is like relatable feelings. People may like you, but not trust your expertise. So, like, I might have an affinity for you as a human, but not feel like you're an authority in your field. Therefore, it will detract me from wanting to buy from you. And then if you skip over evidence, right, proof, people may be interested but hesitant because they can't see those results. So we want to make sure that by the end of today, at least by the end of our talk today, that you're going to have 6 post ideas, 2 for each layer that are simple and will help you build authority, build affinity, and evidence, giving you that stacked trust that you need to get to the place of decision making. So let's talk about authority or expertise, because this is a really big one. So the first layer of authority, or the first layer, which is authority, authority is not being bossy, it's leadership and it's clarity. So, for example, it would be like saying, I know what I do, what I'm doing, and I know I can explain it. So as a company, we work with women-owned businesses and we teach them the how to of building sustainable and scalable businesses. So I know that my role as the person representing the company is to ensure that I am standing in my authority by staying up to date on my information for my industry, making sure that I'm providing the newest and most accurate information for my clients so that they can achieve the results they need to achieve. And what I'm doing is essentially I'm leading them through whatever that experience is. That's my job. And so authority is all about being the leader of your brand. And authority content should answer things like, can she help me solve this problem? And here's how you know your authority is weak. This is an important thing. So people love your post, but they don't take action. That means authority is weak. That's a good indicator. Or you get lots of, this is so true, but not many inquiries. That means your authority is weak. There's a trust factor missing there. Or it could be you're posting inspirational things, but not teaching anything concrete. And so we want to make sure that we put together some kind of authority posts that work for your brand and in your industry, specifically for your audience. And it's not going to be identical industry to industry, but as a framework, an authority piece that's going to look like frameworks, checklists, myth busting. It could even be like what to do next or what to do first, decision filters. These are like little things that you can provide in your content that can help people understand and get to know you, that you are the authority builder in your brand, or in that industry, and that you're the solution to their problem, because that's ultimately what we're trying to get to. So if you're working on this with me tonight or this morning, then here are 3 sentence starters you can steal from me, and I'm going to drop these in the chat to help you reference. So here are 3 authority statements. Let me drop these in the chat for you. The first one is, if you're struggling with blank, check this first. The second one is, most people think blank, but what actually matters is blank. And then the third one is 3 signs your blank is costing you more time or money, blank. So what we want you to do is we want you to look at your authority posts and see, are we doing this? Are we giving some kind of framework or checklist or guide to help provide not only just trust building in the fact that you know what you're talking about, but also to build a bridge of connectivity between you and that audience. Now, when we talk about marketing, I'm not going to tell you post more, because that's not a strategy. I am going to tell you what to post and why it works and what to track. And this is an important thing, because when we're talking about authority, knowing what it is that your audience is needing to get to the place of conversion is a part of that marketing strategy that you need to have. And asking these questions or these sentence starters can help you draw scope over what that authority needs to be and where you need to be positioning yourself. Now, the second layer is the affinity piece. So it's the relatability. It's what makes people feel seen. It's not necessarily cutesy. It's more like what's real. We're not oversharing. We're not over like giving bigger adjectives than we need to, or more adjectives than we need to describe ourselves. We're just simply saying, here's what is real, this is what is true, and there's a connection to it. And so affinity content answers the question, does she understand what I'm dealing with? Does she understand what I'm dealing with? So if I'm going to meet you for the first time on social media and I'm looking at your social media, am I going to read, watch, see something that makes me go, she gets me? That's my person. Because we want that. We want that kind of buy-in. And so here is a way to assess your current content, whether or not the affinity is weak or not. And so if you sound professional, but you don't engage, that's gonna cause problems. That's weak affinity. So like it's not enough to just make posts and show up. You have to engage with your following. Um, affinity might be weak if you've got a lot of followers, but no conversations going. So if people follow you, but they don't engage on your content or share or do anything to interact with your brand digitally, there's some kind of disconnect. And then your brand may feel polished, but not personal. So you might be reading like the most professional business in the whole world in your industry, but people don't connect with it because you're not speaking their language. So you're not going to convert. So affinity is really, really important piece. It's an important part to master because if you do it right, it really can build trust fast with your audience. So what does an affinity post sound like then, right? I told you what it doesn't sound like. So what does it sound like? So if you're feeling blank, you're not behind. That's an affinity post. If you have a feeling, I'm going to speak life into that and tell you as a guide where you're going to go because that's not the end or whatever. If you're talking about affinity posts, you're talking about the emotional intelligence of your brand. It's that connectivity to the audience. Here's what I learned the hard way is a great start to an affinity post. Here's what I learned the hard way. Saving your audience from having to go through something because you've been through it and you want to provide your how-to or whatever that authority piece is. That's a really good way. Here's what I've learned the hard way. A pattern I keep seeing with women business owners is it's another affinity statement. So maybe replace business owners. Maybe it's a different audience for you. Pattern I've been seeing in real estate lately. Pattern I've been seeing in accounting or bookkeeping lately. Figuring out how to make these sentences align for you. And then what I will not do to grow my business, even if it's popular, is another example of an affinity post. So it's talking about you as the business owner, but then it's talking about you up against trend. And trend marketing is not a strategy. So unless you are like an entertainer, trend marketing is not going to really work well for your business because your audience most likely has a geographical dependency and your audience is most likely not the potential of everyone. And so it's really important that your affinity posts are built out consistently in your strategy so that people can build not just authority and go, this person knows what they're talking about, but they can also go, this person knows what they're talking about, and I relate to them. If I relate to you as a brand, I'm more likely to talk about you as a brand. I'm more likely to buy from you as a brand, and I'm more likely to write a review for you in a positive light as a brand. So, how do we get that affinity up in your business? Now, for your starter post here, I'm going to give you 3 affinity post starters. Let me put these in the chat for you. Okay. Now these ones are if you've been carrying blank, I want you to hear this. Okay, that's an affinity post. You don't need more blank, you need blank. Bringing clarity and position to their lives because you care enough about them to be on the right track. I'm noticing a pattern blank, and here's what to do about it. Are you a coach? Are you a parenting coach? Helping your audience giving away everything in your brain to your audience is what builds authority. Um, giving everything away to your audience and expecting nothing in return builds affinity. So We want affinity with authority. But remember, affinity without authority is just a vibe. And vibes are not a strategy. They just aren't. Like we can have a great vibe, but doesn't mean they're going to buy, doesn't mean that it's going to be the next catalyst to your big idea for your business. So affinity without authority is just vibes. We want real connection and leadership. When we talk about building out affinity, we're talking about connected leadership. Now, the third layer of all of this is the evidence proof. And this part is they're all important. It doesn't matter. It's the three-legged stool, and you don't want any of it uneven because if it wobbles and it's ineffective. So evidence, this is the one most people tend to avoid. Sometimes it's because they're at the beginning of their businesses. They may not actually have proof of concept in the way that they want to. Or maybe it's, I don't know, maybe you're making a transition or something. I have no idea, but evidence is not the thing to be skipping. You need some kind of proof of concept. And if you don't have proof of concept, then it's time for you to go work on that. Like that should be a part of your launching campaign is doing the proof of concept part for your business because you need to understand that just because you have a great idea doesn't mean that your audience is going to align with it. And so in order for you to determine if it's the right fit for your audience, then you have to test it. You got to try it out. And it's through the trials and errors of our businesses that we learn a lot about it. And we want to share that evidence with people because that's what builds that connection from the audience to the business. So a content like evidence-based content can look like has this worked for anyone else and what could it do for me? So evidence-based content answers, has this worked for anyone else and could it work for me? Could it be a good fit for me? I think it's important to note that evidence is not bragging and it provides clarity. So you're helping people make a decision with confidence. You're not bragging about yourself. That's not the same thing. Providing evidence is a necessary part of building a brand. Evidence, I would say, can look like client stories and testimonials. Before and after, you could do testimonials with context. I feel like I need to say that. So you've got client stories are really great. And then you've got before and after. People love that kind of thing. The transformation is important. But testimonials with context is really important. I see people all the time will write or share reviews, but there's no context. You want to be thinking very human in your marketing this year. So be really focused on providing context because a good story has subtext to it. There's more to it than just the highlights. So make sure you're in your evidence-based content that you're providing evidence with context when necessary. It could be a quick case study, and it might also look like um, doing some kind of what it looks like to work with me style post. So for me, I do everything digitally. So if I were to do that type of post, I would probably take an example of me being on Zoom and showing that process because that's how I do everything for my job. And so for you, it might look a little different. Maybe they meet you in person, or maybe you do things in groups. Maybe you need somebody to come do some brand photography for you. Evidence is an important part of building trust, and we want that trust to be stacked. So if you're working on writing out your evidence-based post content, I'm going to put these ones in the chat for you. So you've got your affinity, you've got your authority, your affinity, and now this is your evidence post starters. So before, after what we changed, right? That's an evidence-based post. If you are in the health and wellness industry, this is an important one. I would say any kind of medicine, the before and afters are going to be really important. If you are dealing with product-based, before and after might be a little tricky. So maybe it's about a client win. You know, here's what our clients did, and this was our strategy, right? I love that. I mean, share that evidence. Show them how diligent you are at being who you are in your industry. And then another evidence post starter could be like, here's what happens in the first 30 days when we work together, telling them like that next steps journey, mapping out that client experience for them to help them become more connected to the brand holistically. Now, when we talk about proof of concept, we talk about anywhere from 5 to 8 purchases essentially of that item. So if you're a service-based business, 5 to 8 clients at that rate. And if you're a product-based business, selling 5 to 8 to just prove need in your storefront. So if you don't have a big numbers right now, you can use process proof, which is like showing the method, the structure, like showing them what you're building. Process proof is a big, big one. You don't have to have literal before and after to have process proof. So that's a good way to get around not having something in the beginning, but still being able to, you know, share. So I want to I want to guide you through a little exercise and see if how this lands with you. Just be curious. So if you're on with me live, hi, welcome. Thanks for watching with me. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment your thoughts. So, but what I want you to do is I want you to grab a piece of paper if you have one, handy a little notebook or something. And um, or a notes app on your phone, like whatever's easy. And then I want you to write authority, affinity, and evidence. And under each heading, I want you to write 2 post titles. Just don't overthink it. Okay, just titles, like really, really simple. And the categories authority, affinity, evidence, and some example. I give you an example for each. So let's say authority. What's one thing you wish your clients understood before you hired them? Like a one. Live or affinity. What's a real sentence your clients say when they're frustrated or stuck? This is really good, like staying observant and actively listening to your client base. And then evidence. What result have you helped someone get, or what transformation are you consistently working toward? I want you to have 2 per category, 6 total. When you do that, you basically just built out your content plan for the whole week or for 2 weeks. If you post the way I post, 3 posts a week, that's an excellent posting schedule for Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. It will keep all 3 pages active. So if you could do an authority piece, an affinity piece, and an evidence piece every week, that's 3 content pillars you don't have to fill anymore, which is really exciting. Now, if you're jumping in the middle or the end of our talk today, here's the big takeaway. And feel free to watch the replay. Let me know if you have any questions. The big takeaway is if you want people to self-select, you need all 3 of those layers showing up regularly and consistently. So my challenge to you is to post one authority post, post an affinity post, and post an evidence post all in one week. And I want you to choose a call to action that really works well for your audience. So if you feel like your audience would respond well to, like, if you want help with whatever it is that you do, DM me. And it could be like, DM me the word trust, like, or maybe it's if you want to tell me what you're working on, right? Like the trust building, it depends on your industry. So however you frame these, then comment, something and I'll message you, right? So like it's trying to get them to the place where you have that consistent authority going out at least once a week. every other week at least, right? One affinity post, you're relating, you're connecting, you're leading, and then one evidence post, and then giving them a strong call to action to bring them all to one place so that you can track it and track the success of it. I would also like to encourage you when you are done writing this type of content and designing it and posting it live, go back after you've got a whole month under your belt and figure out which ones performed best for you. Maybe the three, authority, affinity, and evidence, does really good for you, but you notice that evidence always converts. So maybe you need an extra evidence post to go up every month or weekly, right? Or maybe you're in authority and affinity, like authority is your teaching, affinity is your connecting, evidence is your conversions. So maybe like in your affinity pieces, you gain new audiences. Great. Lean into that. Do you want growth for your social channels this year? Do you want growth for your business's name and recognition? Lean in, right? So taking a chance to go back and look at it once you've done it is a really important part of gathering all the right information and then using that strategically to make decisions for your business moving forward. So that's all for today. I'm so grateful that you hopped on and watched with me this morning. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I'd be happy to answer your questions individually. And if you did the exercises, I would love to know your responses. Did any of this align? Which one, did you start with, and how did it work for you? I'd love to know. So feel free to comment below, and I'll take a look at this later today to say hi to everyone. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Have a great week.